All right, all right, all right. Welcome to Money My Mind podcast. This is Akili Muhammad, your hostess with the mostest. And we have again brother Dr. Akili Muhammad from the Ultimate Wellness Group. Thank you so much for being on the show again, brother Akili. And today we have part three of Mining My Mind topic, Dear Black Man, where does God fit into your health struggle? You know, brother Akili picked this topic. So he kind of sort of, even though he's a guest, he gonna be running it tonight. He's going to run the show because I really want to find out exactly why he picked this topic and what exactly do you mean by where does God fit into your health struggle from your perspective? Because there was a reason why you actually picked this particular topic. So let's go with it, Brother Akili.
Yes, ma'am. Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity, my sister. It's a blessing to have an opportunity to try to give what I have learned in my own life journey and in the journey of partnering with people that are on a healing or a health journey. And so those lessons are what I am trying to offer. And inshallah, God say the same. It will help somebody and help somebody benefit from these words. So, why did I ask if we could do where is God in your life journey? Would be because I remember years after achieving my goal in life, right? I wanted to be a physician all of my life. There were three things: truck driver. Well, physician was first. Physician, truck driver, and an NFL football player. And to achieve being a physician, especially when our community especially talks about how hard it is and the difficulty factor of being able to take all the steps that it takes to get there, I was feeling pretty good about myself, probably pretty arrogant and overconfident. But I had achieved pretty much every goal I had ever set for myself. And Allah allowed it to all be taken away. And not only my license to practice medicine, but my four practices that I had when I started going through my ordeal. I was making more money than I ever made in my career before then. Still owned all of my clinics, so I was self employed, doing a lot of good things in the community, but God allowed it to be taken away. And after it all happened, and I went from making the most money that I'd ever made in my life to making nothing, unemployed, couldn't find work. Nobody would even consider hiring me, right? Too overqualified, or we don't want you in the medical field anymore because of what was said about you in the news and the papers and media and all that kind of thing. But I was in jail for child support, and a student assistant minister in Houston came to the jail, and he said, "Bro, you ought to go read the story of Job, because from my vantage point, you are living that reality right now." And so I went and I read Job probably about 3, 4, 5 days in a row. Hell, I'm in jail. I ain't have much else to do. So I
So,
read it like day after day after day, 3 or 4 days in a row. And I was like, wow. Before joining the Nation of Islam, I thought the Bible and the Quran were tools of the slave master. Wasn't really too enthused with them. Didn't pay much attention to them in my life journey up to that point. But after reading it, I was like, wow, here it is. And I pray that you brothers that are listening, go check it out. I mean, this didn't happen by circumstantial realities. This happened because the God that we serve himself said, go ahead and challenge my servant, thinking that he was going to curse God to his face, and he wasn't. And God knew he wasn't. But God allowed for his wealth and his family and just about everything that was part of his life that made him great was taken away from him But eventually, Allah gave me back even more because of his faithfulness. And so that would be my challenge to every brother that, inshallah, has listened since we started this three-part series. That no matter where you are and what your life is like and how bad it may be, you might need to consider God's servant Job. And maybe that's what's happening in your life. You are being tested. I know that prior to that happening to me, I should say that process of me losing everything, I got married to my wife, Tawana, on September the 4th, 2010. And the DEA came into my practice on November 15th of that same year, less than 3 months later. And that downward trajectory of my life at that time started to occur that day. And my wife had made many suggestions to me. She had suggested that I get a license in more than one state. She had suggested I kind of broaden my horizon and get into some different aspects of medicine that wouldn't be, based on me and my license. And I was too arrogant to even consider the things that she was telling me. Why am I saying that? Because, brothers, we have to start looking at our life and doing an honest assessment of it. Because I would say that every black man in this country that is struggling, can you think back to somebody telling you, hey, bro, maybe you should do such and such? Maybe you should go back to school. Maybe you should try this other job. Oh man, I'm good, man. I'm getting seniority in the job that I'm in, and now it's a struggle because it doesn't serve you well enough. That other job might have been it. So I'm not here to tell anybody that I'm some great person sitting on some pedestal looking at your life. No, I'm just saying that if you ever go read Genesis 15, that story of when God was talking to Abraham is about black people. And if it is, and it is, and if it is true, and it is, when he says that my people will suffer in a foreign land for 400 years, but then they will come out with great substance and go to a land of their own.
Come
Well,
on.
we as members of the Nation of Islam are for sure there is no other people on the planet Earth that can fit that description. And so, if that is true, and it is, then you as a black man have to come to a conclusion that you are the chosen of God. How can your life be that bad if you are the chosen of God? Sometimes it's because we put blockers up to suggestions and other blessings that are coming through people, and we just don't want to hear it. Or are we really putting our faith in God? Right. So I wanted to read something real quick, if you don't mind, my sister.
Go right ahead, dear brother.
We are talking about faith. We're talking about God. So I think every black man is struggling has to ask himself, do I really believe in God? Because most black people in America consider themselves Christians and they claim Jesus Christ. But I just wanted to challenge us with this, right? And again, I pray that no brother is thinking that I think I'm something greater than you. Know. This is just how I had to go through my own journey of believing that I was in the right place, doing the right thing to serve the God that I said I serve. So here is Luke 4, and it's verse 18. And this is Jesus talking about what his mission is. It says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised. So, you know, my suggestion is go to Luke 4:18, read that for yourself, look up any words that you're not sure you understand, and ask yourself who that could be other than black people. the poor, the brokenhearted, the
Come on.
captives, the
Come on.
blind, and those that are bruised. In America and all over the world, there's nobody that can describe better than black men and black women in America. So if you go to church and that's not the reality of your church, how could they be in congruence with Jesus? And that's his mission. And I would say that one of the biggest problems, I would say, amongst black men is that we have a tendency to reject anything that we don't know anything about. Give you a perfect example. I was talking to somebody one day and I said, the moon used to be a part of this that we call Earth. There was an explosion that blew the moon where it is, and then the Earth moved in orbit to where it is now in comparison to each other. Oh, nigga, you crazy. That can't be. Oh, hold on, bro. You say it's no way it can be. What do you know about the Earth? What have you studied about geology? What have you studied about the moon where you could say it's no way? That's impossible. Well, I ain't never studied nothing like that. Well, how in the hell can you come with a statement that there's no way that that's possible? When the astronauts that went to the moon said while they were there that it smelled like gunpowder. So there are many other things, but my only point is that I talk to a lot of black men on a regular basis. I go out amongst the community minimum once or twice a week. And I notice that many times black men reject a person who is Muslim, a person who uses the term Allah, a person that says, man, we with Farrakhan. But at the end of the day, do you all realize that the difference between Muhammad, Jesus, Moses, Abraham, and any other prophet that's in the Bible or the Quran is only that they were in a certain area of the world? They spoke a language that may have been different than the other ones, but every prophet has the same God. Every single one of them said that they were somebody superior than them. Call them Jah, Allah, God, whatever, Jehovah, whatever the words that are in the scriptures that we call them. We have to stop making a Muslim, a person that uses the term Allah and says, Farrakhan helped my life. You have to stop looking at that as if that's something that you should repel. That's something that you should throw back. That's something that you should not try to use as a tool, because that's what the minister is. The minister is God's tool in this dispensation of time. And
Yes,
I
he
don't know
is.
anybody, right? I know nobody in my life that has listened to the minister, regardless of their faith, regardless of what they call themselves. I know nobody that has given an honest attempt to listen to this man where they didn't get some information that made them better. And that is what changed my life. And so I
Let
just
me
wanted
ask
to
you
offer
something
that as
earlier.
an opening.
I want to ask you something that you said earlier. And I'm asking this question in the vein of the topic that we're having and the things that you're discussing. Why is it you said earlier that black men reject what they don't know? Is it what? Why do black men and any man in generally rejects what they don't know? Is it an ego thing? Is it a fear thing? How did you react when Sister Tawana spoke to you and said that maybe you should go to other states and get licenses? Maybe you should explore another aspect of health to where you may not even need a license. How did you take that information coming from her, and how long did it take you to, one, consider it, and two, act on it, what she said?
I never responded with the affirmative. And so I never responded to anything that she said. I rejected it because I was arrogant enough to think that I had already had everything figured out. It took me losing everything to realize that I had a woman that had my back to the nth degree. And it was after I lost everything that I sat and I thought about the fact that, man, if I had done what she had said, I might have this. If I had done, she was saying I might have this company still. And so, no, I mean, losing everything was what Allah knew I needed in order to listen to her. And so, this practice that I'm building now, I'm doing everything in conjunction with her. I don't make any decisions without talking to her. I don't make any decisions without going to her and asking her for her input, even if it's an aspect of the, the business that I have total control of. So I pray that I learned my lesson. I think there's still some things that I have to grow and be better at, but I didn't listen to her at all. And I am pretty sure that the reason that we as black men do that is because we have never been healed from the damage that was done to our forefathers. So here it is that our men that were brought to this country were some brilliant men with many, many different skills,
Mhm.
because there's no way that a scientific people like the Caucasian people who came to get us came and got some ignorant, stupid people that were hiding behind trees and bones in the noses, like they say, all that kind of madness. No, we were highly scientific, highly able
Civilized.
people,
Yes.
builders of many different societies.
Yes.
And no, they didn't want you to know that. But all you have to do is just a little research on what you did here. It wasn't white folks out there planting the food. It was you. How would you be a dummy and grow food? You were the ones that built their mansions. How can a dummy build a mansion? It was our women that were taking certain things from nature and making their clothes. So how could we be dummies? Now, we were never dummies. We just were destroyed into dummies. We're dummies now in comparison to what we were, but we're still brilliant people. Look at the things around the world that we invent. Look at the things that made America what it is that we invented. So at the end of the day, my conclusion on why black men say, man, ain't no way, when it's something they don't know anything about, and an ignorant person like myself to reject a woman's suggestion when she was really trying to help me, it is because we have never been healed, nor counseled, nor have we had any therapy, nor have we tried to heal the mental, psychological, and spiritual scars that came from our grandfathers and our great grandfathers, and going all the way back to the boat rides over here. So rather than admit when we lack, admit our ignorance, admit when we have no clue what the hell we are doing or what we're talking about, we would rather say, I'm good, I got it, or there ain't no way, rather
Yeah.
than to admit that we have a weakness. The world has beat black men down so much, we're looking for any opportunity to say, I got it, I'm good, I'm straight, I'm strong, I can handle this. And the reality of what's happening in America is proving that we're the exact opposite, because our communities are the greatest example of our lack.
Wow. You definitely said a mouthful, sir. And is it the same, reads that same, along that same vein of why black men have a tendency of not taking care of their health? Is it because they refuse to accept that there could be something wrong with it? Sometimes I wonder if it's because they may be afraid of what it could be, as opposed to approaching it from the perspective of, let me go in here and take care of this to avoid it getting any worse.
Well, my research of black men and being a black man and being around black men all the time, because I don't really hang out with any other race of people, we are we are a segment of society that's given up. the black man in America as an entity is a man who has quit. And I know that might sound horrible to some men and they may disagree, but you can't take any statistic and prove me otherwise. We have we have gone from proving that we're the greatest on the planet to now being the worst. What do I mean by that? When slavery was so called ended, black men and black women, there's some estimates say 60, some estimates say 90, but we had between 60 to 90 all black towns in America, in the South, within 10 years to 20 years after slavery was over. So we proved how great we were. After 300 some odd years of being absolutely treated like animals, we walked out of these people's plantations and built superior societies than they had ever seen. And we have come from that greatness to killing each other in the street, pimping our women, selling drugs to each other, rapping about killing each other, selling drugs to each other, and pimping women. Those that don't consider themselves poor and in the traps and in the hoods down in the dirt, what are they doing other than selfishness and claiming God has blessed them, but your life has no resemblance to anything that Jesus was about? So we could talk a whole lot about who we are and what we are, and those things are true. But in general, black men in America aren't achieving what God would want us to achieve. Otherwise, our communities would be in a different condition. We would be in a different condition, and we wouldn't still be subjugating ourselves, because it's no longer, as the minister has taught us, we will never be able to say that what we see every day and the systems that we're a part of aren't from the oppression of our enemies. But it's a choice now for a black man not to want to stand on his own 10 toes, claim some independence, co-join himself with other like-minded black men, and go out here and change the world. There are too many examples. There are too many examples of what we could do to change our reality in America. But we are satisfied with just getting by. We're satisfied with a house and a car that you clean every damn Friday so you can roll around on the weekend and look like something that you're not. We have had the highest inclination towards divorce, black men. And we're also and that's not true because it's white men, but we have a whole hell of a lot of men that aren't taking care of their children, aren't interested in marrying the woman. She's good enough for you to lay your behind down with her, but she's not good enough for you to marry. So we do a lot of things that are self-destructive, that
But
are
don't you think
part of
that's
the
part of the social
deterioration of our
engineering?
community. Oh,
Don't
for
you think
sure.
that's part of
But
social engineering?
absolutely. But in 2025, there should be no black man with all the information that we have out here. There should be no damn black man that is a part of destroying his community due to social engineering. It's too obvious. Even the homies in the hood know that this madness is going on. And I can never blame them. I blame the black men of my generation that haven't done enough to produce an opportunity for them to get out. We haven't produced the opportunity to show them a better way, because we over here in the suburbs running our mouth about their music, and your music was saying the same thing. It was just doing it in a way that wasn't so obvious. So why are we mad at them for being obvious about it? They use the F word, they use the B word. You do the same damn thing when it's a bunch of so-called, made black men or executives and corporate black men. It's the same conversation. Y'all disrespect your women. You're disrespectful to your marriage. You don't do right by your wife. You don't do right by your children, but yet you'll talk about them. These young niggas don't this. These niggas ain't this. And your grandparent, my father said the same thing about me and my generation. So we just have this turn wheel like a hamster wheel, and we ain't making no progress. At the end of the day, social engineering can be overcome by wisdom and a made up mind. But as I said last time, it's not going to happen unless the black man does it. Our community is not going to improve until the black man stands up and rejects social engineering, rejects a false God. Because at the end of the day, there wouldn't be as many black men in the condition that they're in if they truly believed in God. You would be making different decisions, and God would be blessing your life better. So that's my sister. And if
Wow.
I may end it with this, there's a scripture, my brothers, in the Bible. I think it's Hosea. I have to get exactly what it is for you before we get off. But Hosea 6, I believe, where it says, "My people suffer for the lack of knowledge." And that's typically where we stop, but that's not the end of that scripture. It also says that those of you who reject my message, I'm paraphrasing, those of you who reject my message, I will reject your children. So some people that are suffering, some people that are in bad conditions, some people out here that look like they're just been slain, they are the result of their parents not holding on to some information that probably could have changed the trajectory of their life, which would have meant that your life would have been in a better situation. So we got to make sure we tap in with God for real if we say we're going to believe in it.
Wow, you said some pretty deep things, and we lost some viewers, and it's okay. Because I look at the numbers while you're talking, and that's okay because this is not a conversation. I'm talking to the viewers, those that are still here. This is not a conversation for dress up. Anissa don't do dress up stuff. I created this minding my mind image and brand so that we can dig deeper into the recesses of who we are. And it starts first in the mind. Be
That's
ye
right.
not conformed to the things that are of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
That's right.
Because everybody is walking around here, not everybody, but I'm going to say that there are some who are still trying to figure out why we have not achieved X, Y, and Z. Why have we not pooled our resources together? And I know that part of the healing process, it does begin in the mind. It does begin in the mind. You have to change how you think.
That's right.
And you cannot change how you think if your brain is not well, if it's not fully functioning. Everything that we consume into our bodies, has an adverse effect of how the brain functions. Most of the food that our people eat, the things that we consume actually, like coffee, alcohol, cigarettes, this and that, these things actually have your brain going on overload. It can cause your neurotransmitters, which actually kind of control how you behave. Your neurotransmitters have an effect on how you think and how you move. God created this creation. His creation is so magnificent
It's facts.
that he gave us color. Every single red fruit, every single red vegetable have the same phytochemicals in it.
That's right.
Every green, yellow, orange, blue, purple, white, and yellow, all of them have the same phytonutrients in it. Phytochemicals, I should say. And they all,
Phytonutrients.
right, thank you. And they're all very intricately involved in helping our brain to function. We have a regulator in our brain called the hypothalamus. And I call it the regulator because that's exactly what it does. It regulates things. It
Everything.
regulates
That's
our
right.
blood sugar. It regulates our heartbeat. It
That's right.
regulates how many times we breathe, which is
That's
what
right.
16 to 20 respirations a minute. And if we're not eating the right food, then our body is not functioning in the way that it could, in the way that it should, in the way that it must, in order for us to be healthy. Because if we're not thinking properly, as the messenger says, in how to eat to live, if we're not thinking properly and eating properly at the same time, then your body is still going to malfunction in some way. And
And
it's
to add to that point, just real quickly, he said, if you're eating correctly and you're not thinking right, the food will not work correctly.
exactly.
Yes.
But how many of us are doing both at the same time? Because even in our quest to eat the right thing, if we're eating coffee and drinking alcohol, that blocks the absorption of the nutrients that you're trying to put in your body.
Well,
You know,
let's clarify that statement about coffee, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that coffee is good for us. I would agree with you that many of us are doing the wrong type of substances to get caffeine,
you
and
see this
most
big
people are
large
doing
cup,
too much. Right, way too
32
much.
ounces in the morning,
Right.
and then
But
another
if you
32
do if
ounces
you
at
do
break.
some caffeine, and it's the right type of caffeine, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it even streamlines and improves the thinking and processing of the brain. But so I just wanted to clarify that, because I don't want anybody to think that just off top that caffeine period is bad. No, caffeine in the way most people do it is bad. So
Thank you for
I
the
want to clarify your
clarification.
statement so people would have what I know you mean.
And thank you so much, Any, right? Who is saying that that they're learning so much from How to Eat to Live. All praises due to Allah.
Praise be to
Keep
Allah.
it, ingest that information, whatever it is that you're learning, and spread the yummy goodness to your family. But I know that our point with regard to making sure that we're eating the right things, because it has an effect on our conduct, on how we act and how we behave in our homes and in our communities.
Yes.
And so, do you think that food can also, what no, let me rephrase the question. In what manner can bad food and alter your emotional state of mind and create anxiety and worry, which is only burdens the body and the mind with stress? Because a lot of us are so stressed out, and we eat bad food. So brothers, y'all not in it alone. I think women do it more than men, but I could be wrong in that respect. But I know that we all look for escapes when we're stressed out. And we know that these escapes are temporary. We know that they're temporary, but we do them anyway. And it's a hard battle, because as I've stated before, I think it was in part one, that I had been diagnosed with clinical depression, but I refused to take medication for it.
That's
And I'm
right.
going to tell you why. Imagine me being in a public place and overhearing the following conversation. Two women recognize each other, take them a minute to realize that they know each other's faces because they are patients at a particular doctor. Yeah. How long you been so and so's patient? For about 3 years. Yeah, I go to him for depression. Me too. I've been going to him for about 5 years and taking the medication, and I don't feel good all the time, very seldom. And I'm listening to this conversation, and I had to really, with every fiber of my being, fight to not ask them, then why are you going to the doctor? We have a tendency as a people to go to doctors, and not to say that that's a bad thing, because it's not. You need to go if there's something wrong, but if that doctor is not benefiting you, you do have the power to walk away and try to find somebody else.
That's
That
right.
was my point.
Yes, ma'am.
That's my point, because I couldn't wrap my head around that one. But it was because of that conversation popping in my head that I decided that I was not going to go take anything for the depression, because I said, you know what? I'm not taking medicine for something that I know that God can help me with. And I haven't looked back.
Yes, ma'am. Well, let me say this first. First of all, the scripture is Hosea 4:6. Brothers and sisters, but specifically to you brothers, to read the section about lack of knowledge. The second one is Book 2, page 11 is where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talks about getting good results from eating the proper foods. We must have good thoughts. So please
Mhm.
go check out that book 2, page 11, where he mentions that if you're eating, it's another place that he says this, but he said you could take a fast for 3 days or 3 times 3 days, or, excuse me, 9 or 20 days, and it will not benefit you if your thoughts aren't correct. And so I just wanted to correct something that you said. No, women are not more emotional than men. They're not more hormonal than men. That is a misconception. Every
Okay.
time
Check
we
that out.
hear the news and we hear about these young homies blasting the other homies, that's all emotions. It might not be the same emotion that you see in a woman or the expression in the same way, but that's emotionalism. For a man to not take care of himself is emotionalism. That's based on hormones, like you said. The types of things that we are eating, especially people that eat a lot of meat, you have no control of your hormones. Because what we have failed to do as Black people is to study the slave process. And if I can just be 100% with you, there is no way that you're going to totally understand the slave making process unless you get your information from the Nation of Islam. There's nobody that has the research that we have about what was done to our people. You can get bits and pieces other places, but we have put it together in a way through the teachings of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan so that you understand and can literally scientifically not only predict but explain why Black people are the way they are. So, just to give you an example, the process of making a slave did not occur on the land of America. The process of making a slave started before we even got on the ships to come over here. They had already changed our diets. They had already started feeding us pork. They already started feeding us meat as a larger aspect of our diet than we ever have as natural people coming from the motherland. And most of us don't know that. We did not eat proper foods once we got here. We ate the scraps. So our nutritional level was way below normal. The average age of a slave was 27. So we were dying as young people, much younger than we are now, and we're still dying as babies. So the process of making a person into a slave started with sounding the mind. Sounding the mind means quieting it, destroying it, lessening it, so that you wouldn't have the ability to produce a revolt. You wouldn't have the same courage you had before you were made into a slave. And so that process of physical beating of people and pulling people apart by horses and slicing over a pregnant woman and letting that baby fall to the ground, and then a slave driver would smash their head in the ground, and cutting the strongest Black man's foot off or his penis off or cutting his tongue out of his mouth so he couldn't talk and tell other people things. This is what happened to you. And that's not even a quarter of it. And so we have been destroyed into people that got to a place where all we could be was emotional, because you couldn't fight back against the plantation owner. You couldn't fight against the slave catchers. You couldn't fight against half of the people on the plantation you couldn't trust. So we have been made into emotional people that don't have the ability to act on the true bravery, the true valor, or the true courageousness that was in us. And so today, how much more experimentation do you think these people have done if they knew that much then? Not 1619, in 1555, when they first started bringing our people from the East over here to the Caribbean islands to start the slave making process, we were people that did not eat a lot of meat. We definitely didn't eat pork. We did not eat greens, and we didn't eat the worst of foods. We did not eat the scraps of other people. So we're talking about a scientific ideology that people already had in 1555 to start decreasing our abilities. Tell me what you think the knowledge of this mind, that same mind has today to put ramen noodles in jails. There's soy
Mm.
in everything in jail. How do I know? I told you a little while ago, I spent some time in jail. I've spent 40 days in jail. I ain't never gonna sit around and try to act like I'm some tough guy. I did time like some of my brothers. I got friends that done 17, 18, 19, 20 years in prison. Some of them piecemeal, some all together. But for my 40 days, I studied that environment. Soy was in every single thing they sell. And most of the foods that they have available are foods that interfere with your hormones as a man. So it's emotionalism going on in a jail. That's where they started their scientific experiments on homosexuality, male and female, in the jails. They've
Wow.
done all kind of experiments when they got people in jail because that's when they can hold you long enough to get to the beginning and then the end of their experimentation, and they know that they have come on something that they can put out into the public. So we have been the greatest experimented on people on the planet, black people in America. And so they have it locked down to a science. Yes, the food that you can buy in the black community, which is mostly not from the grocery store, but from the corner store, all of that is poison and it's absolutely just destroying your hormones. And that's why we, as a man that is almost 60, I know when we were young, we used to walk around with our shirts off during the summertime, like they do around Georgia, where I live now. But most of the young boys that I see now, if they're just a little overweight, it look like they got breasts. That wasn't happening when I was young because the stuff wasn't in the store that's in the store today. And the stuff in the stores back then, even when it was junk food, didn't have as much of these chemicals in it they have today. So, brothers, we're talking to today, you are being manipulated in a way that you don't even understand because you don't read packages and you don't study what food can do and will do to you. And you haven't studied the process of us being made into slaves. And now, as I said earlier, we're willing participants because you don't study, ask, get more information, and try to figure out what is a better way for you to eat. Why, as a man, can I say that I have no medical problems, but I come from a family that had all the medical problems of the black community? What did I do differently? And why is it that we as black men, when we see somebody that's doing something different, why do we back away instead of running to it? Because we ought to be tired of doing what everybody else is doing and get these old crazy results we get. And again, I know that sometimes I talk pretty tough. I can't help it, brothers. My father brought me up this way. He was a tough talker. He was a strong talker. And that's just the way I was formulated. I was conditioned to be that same way. I don't mean any harm. I don't mean to put down anybody. I really mean it completely out of love. And I pray that any of you brothers who are looking for somebody to express yourself, looking for somebody that you can talk to and will never tell your business. I have been practicing medicine for 30 years, my brothers, and there has never been a person. And I promise you, go look, go try to find them yourself. There's never been a person in my 30 years of practicing medicine that has ever even hinted at the fact that I told some of their private business. Never. Some people give me permission to tell their story, I just don't tell their name. Some people have told me, I don't even want you telling my story. Whatever they tell me, whatever they ask me, when they give me private information, it stays right there. So we got to stop this madness of not being vulnerable with another man. We need to be more vulnerable with each other so we can learn more and realize I'm not the only one struggling. I'm not the only one ignorant. I'm not the only one that don't know how to eat right. I'm not the only one that's sick. I'm not the only one that's scared. I'm not the only one that's having issues that I don't know how to solve. All of us need each other. And the more we get rid of that old egotistical, I'm tough, I'm the baddest black man around mentality, the better we'll start getting together and building each other to be that for real.
All right. Topic tonight, everybody, is Dear Black Man, Part 3. Where does God fit into your journey and your struggle? Brother Akili, there's a question in the chat, and it says, Brother Doctor, how did the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad say to make the egg coffee?
So you are supposed to take your coffee and put it in. First of all, let me start with this. You have to get some quality coffee. Much of the coffee that's out here is adulterated, just like the food we just discussed. So good coffee is not necessarily cheap, but I'll give my information. You can reach out to me directly, and I can give you a couple of people that I buy my coffee from that I think is a good source. So once you get some good coffee, you take an egg, and now we have to talk about the egg now, right? Because the egg cannot be an egg from a typical farmer that's feeding these chickens all these antibiotics and these hormones and soy. We have to get the more expensive eggs, which sometimes is difficult to buy, but you can also reach out to me and I can give you a website where you can go and find these eggs and they can get shipped to your house. But you take the egg, one or two, and you break the egg up with the shell, with the insides, everything. You put that down in their pot. You put your coffee in your pot, your water in your pot, you boil that, and then you strain that. And that coffee is how he said we should drink it. It removes toxins, it removes excess caffeine, and it also gives the coffee a smoothness and a much more, how should I say, balanced caffeine elevation. So it's not like people drinking these monster drinks and all these other energy drinks that are sometimes driving people crazy. So that's in a nutshell, my brother.
Can
How
you please
you
tell
make
me
the
what your link is so I can post it in the chat, sir? The links that you were referring to.
the links that I'm referring to. It would take me time to find those. So they send them my email address, please, or my number, and or can I put it in? Can I put it in? You got to put it in. So my
Ultimate
telephone
Wellness.
number is 314.
Hold on. Let me put your name here. Dr. Akili Muhammad. 314
901
901
4135.
4135.
And my email address is the ultimate wellness group at gmail.com. So either way, you can email me or you can send me a text message tomorrow, and I can get you the link for the eggs, and I can get you the link for the coffee. There's a sister that actually sells coffee, she and her husband, right here in Atlanta. And when I tell you it's good, I bought some for my grandmother and my great grandmother, and they sucked it down within a couple of weeks. So I'm about to re up, but it's excellent. They have a lot of different flavors, but it's some of the best coffee I've ever had.
All praises be to Allah. Thank you, dear brother, for sharing that. And as we are approaching the end of this particular podcast in about 11 minutes or so, I just want to thank you all, the listeners, for tuning in for the last 3 weeks to hear words of wisdom from a good brother, a good friend of mine, and we've worked together for several years. Whenever he comes out to LA, I try to get him to come and talk to our brothers at our mosque. And he's just good people. Overall, he's good people. And if you have a conversation with him about your health, be it physical, mental, or spiritual, he will give it to you straight with no chasing. And that's why I invited him to be on this podcast. It's been a minute in the making, but I've had this idea of Dear Black Man for quite some time, and it finally allowed it to come to fruition. And for that, I am eternally grateful. The struggle out there for our brothers is very, very real. I know that I've had male patients that were a real piece of work to work with.
Yes.
But I know that by God's grace, I was able to reach them by just treating them like people. and not like a medical record number. I had some that were so hardcore that they tried to scare me, Brother Akili, with their speech, their interactions, and I would just sit there patiently and ask, "Are you done? You know I'm not scared of you, right?" So, and they would look at me surprised, but then they would laugh, and it was in those moments like that where I was able, by God's grace, to reach them and talk to them like they were my brothers, and they protected me and treated me like I was their sister.
That's right.
And I was able, by Allah's grace, to reach them through how to eat to live. They didn't, I didn't call it that in the clinic when you're working for other folks. I just told them what they needed to do, and their health improved. Some of them stuck with it, some of them didn't. But I know that I had a client, a patient, who was an extremely talented saxophone player. He was extremely talented. And he was, in my opinion, too young to have congestive heart failure, but he did. And I know that every time I reached out to him, he was heavily intoxicated. Man, I got called every name in the book, Brother Akili. And I just sat there and listened. I didn't go off. I didn't lash back out at him. And when he realized that was just what I did, he said, "Why do you even care about me, Miss Mom?" And I told him, "Because God does. And you, my brother."
If you don't mind me interrupting, I want to say this: that brothers, I have, as Sister Anissa just said, I think we met in either 2009 or 2010. And Sister Anissa's first impression to me was the hardcore black woman that she had to be in order to get her point across in a system and in environments where women's thought process is not respected. Very soon after that, Sister Anissa corrected me on something that I was doing. And I'm not going to get any specifics because I want to make this point and so we can close. But Sister Anissa, even with her sincerity and her harshness, shows love more than most people that I know in the Nation of Islam, in the Ministry of Health, and otherwise. And it's her actions. And that's why brothers love you. And that's why brothers care for you. And that's why you are effective with people, because you show them love. Most people talk love and don't know how to show it. And it's I'm not knocking people. It's just the same thing I just finished saying. We have been beat into a condition where we don't know how to do certain things. But some people just have been given a gift. And the way I've seen Sister Anissa help people, I'm talking about when we are together in Los Angeles, when we're together in Detroit, Chicago, or any other places that we are as the Ministry of Health and Human Services of the Nation of Islam, I see her show love. And sometimes it is stern, sometimes it's with a smile, sometimes it's with tears, sometimes it's with her loving kindness, and everywhere in between. But to me, I think the reason why we have such a connection is because we're both the same way. Because I can smile at you, but I've had people come in my office and try to threaten me. Man, you didn't give my daughter any antibiotics. I'm not leaving here without no antibiotics. Yeah, you are going to leave here without antibiotics, partner. And all of this stuff that you're talking and how hard you trying to be, bro, that don't bother me. I grew up in that condition. I was that dude. So what I say is because I went to school. You're not going to come in here and tell me what to do. So my point is that we both have that ability to be harsh when we need to be harsh. And we have the ability to be whatever it takes to be effective with the person that's sitting in front of us. Whatever it takes to make you get better, or you to know that you have somebody that cares and loves for you, that's what we're going to do. And that's the way it has been. I've cursed out people in my office before. I've cried with people in my office before. I've had people tell me things they've never told anybody else on the planet Earth. Not their mama, their grandmama, their daddy, nobody. I've had some people that didn't tell me nothing. I've lost a lot of people that I've worked with. Many of them dead, but many of them are living their best lives because Allah has gifted me through the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad how to live, and the minister helping me understand that. I've been able to put programs together where they have solved medical problems that every single thing you've ever heard of, I've seen people walk up out of it. Just word to Allah. Wasn't me. It's the gift that we were given. And I pray that you all got that in this 3-part series, because I know sometimes, like I said, I can sound harsh because that's the way my father raised me and my brothers. He wanted us to be that way. He wanted us to have a toughness. He wanted us to go out into the world and walk in big black boots, but then still have some humility. That's just the way he made us. And so I can't apologize for who Allah put the environment around me to make me.
Yes.
But I can promise you that if you are sincere about improving your health, if you're sincere about just having a black man that you can just be yourself with so that you can improve or get new information, or hell, even help me. I'm not in a place where I can sit and say, I'm up here and I'm trying to bring y'all up here. Hell no, I'm amongst everybody, and I have some gifts and talents. I got some things that I'm good at. I got some things that I've healed, and I'm crazy as hell in some parts of my life. So that's the balance, and that's why Allah made a brotherhood. That's why he made a sisterhood. And that's why he made some things we have to do separate. You come to the Nation of Islam Mosque on any day that we're having a meeting. If it's a public thing and everything is everywhere, then we might have a mixed crowd. But typically, the men sit on one side and the women sit on another side. That is scientific. That's a scientific approach to how we learn. So sometimes men just need to be with men, and sometimes women just need to be with women. And then there's sometimes we bring that together and start the coalescence that has to happen amongst the sexes. But I'm just here to tell my brothers that everything that I've said in these last 3 weeks have been absolutely what I believe is the truth. It is absolutely laying out the reality of my journey to being a healthier black man. And I don't plan on dying less than 200, if Allah say the same. But that's based on what Donald Elijah Muhammad says in that book. I believe it, I live it, and I'm trying to express it to my brothers so that we will grasp onto it, get more healthy, get our minds together, because the world is about to get crazy, and it's going to be the black man that is going to bring the world back to its normalcy and its ability to put God's kingdom back at the head of everything. And every single one of you black men, please, if you haven't done research on what our brothers are doing over there in Africa, just go tap in just a little bit. All you're doing is looking at a reflection of you, because in the long term, we're going to be their superior, because they're doing it for the right reason and they're doing the right things by getting rid of their oppressors. But we represent that scripture that I talked about earlier, Genesis 15. So Allah is going to put us at the top. Not that we're better than them, but as the scripture said, we will be first because of the furnace of affliction, not because we're better than anybody else.
All praises be to Allah. Brother Akili, you have definitely, once again, triumphed, and you definitely brought a whole lot to this particular 3-part series that we've done. And I'm very grateful to Almighty God Allah for you, for sharing your heart with my brothers, because it wasn't your knowledge base you came from, it was your heart.
Praise to Allah.
You know,
may I also add to every brother that's listening, Brother Dr. Akili Muhammad would not have been able to express himself like I have on this 3-part series without Master Farah Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. What I've talked about in these last 3 weeks didn't come from the medical books that I paid for in medical school at Meharry Medical College. or college at Prairie View A&M University. The ability to be able to truly touch Black men in the best way, and to be able to help people in the best way possible, it took me submitting myself to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and how to eat, to live, and everything else that the minister and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has given us, because it's growing me into a man that can't be touched. And again, it's not because of me, it's because of my dedication to the knowledge that they've given. And I'm humbled and I'm thankful, and I pray that Sister Anissa and I have made a difference in somebody's life, because that's the only reason. Accolades and all this other stuff, that's not what I do it for. If I can't leave this earth knowing that there are people better than I, and that my son is going to stand on my shoulders and take it to a whole nother stratosphere, then ain't nothing worth living if that's not the future. So thank you, my sister, for the opportunity and the platform.
All praises be to Allah. I thank Allah who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, because the image, that branding thing of that image of minding my mind came from him. That definitely was not Anissa. It was a picture that I saw in my head.
Yes.
Coming up off a prayer rug at 4:30 in the morning. And I saw it, and I had a very talented graphic artist that's in our ranks. I told him what I saw, and he put it and gave it life. I've been studying allied health, public health, nursing, biochemistry, biostatistics. I've been in this work for over 20 years, only by God's grace, studying so that I can help my people improve their health, so that I can figure out a way to introduce a new healthcare system for us.
That's right.
Because we need one of our own. We need our own health insurance for ourselves. But the best health insurance policy is how to eat to live.
Guaranteed.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says, and I'm paraphrasing, in the National Agenda, if you don't have that book, go to store.finalcon.com and you can get it. The National Agenda, I think it was in 2008 on page 89. He says that if we give clean and sanitary conditions to ourselves, by thinking right, by eating right, by doing right, then what the government does or does not do, we give healthy conditions to ourselves.
That's right.
And that's a fact. And so the work that I do, Brother Akili, it does come from the heart, because I feel driven to do what I do, if that makes sense. It's like it's something outside of myself, that's inside of myself and outside of myself at the same time, pushing me toward a particular goal. And every time I think I have reached that goal, then here I am doing something else to further myself in that journey. And it's all for the benefit of a people that I know that are not well. We're not well mentally, we're not well physically, we're not well emotionally, we're not well psychologically, we're not well financially, we're not well intellectually. And it all falls full circle. It comes full circle. And if we don't start taking care of the individual and the families in the environment that we're in, then we're going to be doomed as a people. And by doomed, I mean extinct. Don't laugh, because
No, I'm laughing because
I don't want us to end up in the Smithsonian, Akili. This is the, they used to do the crip walk. They used to do this. We used to do that. I don't want, no. Mm-hmm. We are an ancient people.
Absolutely. Let me say this, my sister, because you inspired something. So now we got to extend it at least a few more minutes. What you just described, my brothers that are listening, that is your confirmation that God is in your life. The confirmation that God is in your life means that your life starts to take on the meaning of the scriptures. The minister teaches us that when we go into the Bible and we read of a specific person, that's a prototype. That's a personality type. It doesn't mean it was just one person. Matter of fact, some things in the Bible, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, when he started teaching, 75% was prophecy and 25% was history. So
Yes.
the 75% being prophecy in the 1930s means that some of us are walking into these people that are in the book. And some of us will walk into even the person that was from the past. You are the new reality of Abraham, the new reality of Moses, the new reality of Jonah, or whoever you will be. And so when Sister Anissa talks about coming off of the prayer rug with either a question before you went to sleep last night or a question that you went to the prayer rug with, you come up from the prayer rug with the answer in your mind, and the energy that's behind it, brothers, is so powerful. You cannot get that mistaken with anybody else. Can't nobody else do that. Your friends, your mama, your brothers, sisters, best friend cannot put that type of energy in you. And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that his desire, I'm paraphrasing, I'll get the quote so I can start quoting it, but he said that he was aimed at destroying this world's medical system because it wasn't a system of healing, it was a system of medicine, and I forget the other word he used, but essence is not going to do you any good. And so what Sister Anissa just described is what happens to me as well. The name, the Ultimate Wellness Group, I did not come up with that. I got off my prayer rug one day, and that is what came to me. And many other answers and many other people that I get on the prayer rug and pray before I write their program, put their programs together, or pray before I go and have a visit with them, a telehealth visit, or whatever type of visit it is. And Allah will give me answers sometimes because I'm saying things I never thought about before. I'm saying things I didn't think, I didn't read, I didn't study. So just, I think, as a cap on what I have to say is, brothers, the world that we live in talks God, but there's no God in the reality. How can you prove that? Go right back to the scriptures. The Bible says the gates to hell are wide and many may enter, but the gates to the hereafter are narrow and very few will enter. So we have a reality where if you walk by 80 people and every single one of them said Allah, Jehovah, Jesus, Moses, whatever they say, if they're saying something that is religious, scriptural, or has something to do with God, you can just pretty much guarantee that 70% of them just talking. So when you start formulating your life and you really getting the right information, the energy with that inside of you will prove to you that you have the right. And as long as you keep your mind on what the minister taught us, he said, if you ever have a conversation with somebody, when you leave that person, if you feel confused, if you feel like you don't want to get to work, if you lack energy and a desire to study, read, or get to work, you left the company of a hypocrite, a disbeliever, or an agent. But if you leave the company of a person and you feel energized, and you want to go get to work and get to doing something, go learn something new, you left the company of a believer. Take that with you, assess who you have around you, and if you don't have the energetic people around you, find some that are, and watch your life go in a different direction. You will start getting answers that you've been asking for a long time. And if your life is in shambles, if it's not to where you want it to be, if there's just some things that are wrong, when you start going in that direction and getting the right information and the right people around you, you will climb out of that hole and you will be in a better place before the end of the year.
Yes,
because God ain't playing, and God has to, in a time like this, he has to take his stewards, his apostles, his true servants, and he got to put them on top in a world this crazy. So I appreciate, again, the opportunity, my sister, and I pray that the brothers enjoyed it, got something they need, and
I do
have my information if you want to keep in touch.
Oh, yes, sir. I definitely will. And for those of you who are listeners, I was sharing this with Dr. Akili before we actually came on air, that this is going to be the last Mind in My Mind podcast for about 5 weeks. I'm studying to take my state exams. And I know that I have to keep my head in the books in order to produce a product that I know is going to be very useful for my people. And I'm going to miss you guys, but I will be back. Okay, I love you all very much. May Allah bless us all with the light of understanding. Thank you for tuning in to Minding My Mind podcast on the Closing the Gap Broadcast Network. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.